Hello, thank you for joining me, Nancy with North Star Ministry. It's been a really windy day today, and it finally died down. But I want to talk a little bit about, just for a minute. I'm going to get back into the book of Amos. I'm going to begin with chapter 4, but in just a few minutes. But I just want to say something about all the deportations going on. Yeah, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about this, and it's a really tough time, especially for people that have come here and established, whether it's jobs or family or whatever, and in their ties, But at some point, when you think about it, you got to really realize it was hurting us as a people, the people that live here. It was really becoming a painful situation. We had to, in order to save ourselves, drastic measures had to be implemented. There was no easy answer. But, boundaries are meant to be respected. And it's a very biblical thing to have boundaries. They were established from the very beginning, at the beginning of time when there was the Tower of Babel, when there was all the people populated the earth, they spoke one language, they were one people, okay? Began to build that tower that reached unto heaven by the works of their own hands. And God saw the works, he saw what they were doing. He saw the corruption. He saw the greed. He saw the out of control abuses of power. He saw how it was when when everything was relevant or irrelevant. And when anything goes, with that kind of a mindset, that sort of mentality, anything goes, everything is relevant, and so let's just do what we want. And that is when mankind is very destructive. It's like how out of control things are today. Well, people are very destruction. The crime rate is through the roof. People are doing heinous things that you never heard of. These atrocious crimes being committed like years ago, 50 years ago, you never heard of any such thing that you're hearing about going on today. But that's the kind of thing that happens, that it's like an outbreak of cancer. It's like an outbreak of crime. And it's terrible, a darkness. So at the beginning, when he confounded the languages, he gave everybody their own place, their own boundaries. He separated the people, which is a wonderful thing, because we're able to appreciate all the differences, the varieties, all the variations in the cultures and the languages and the people and the cuisine, even, when you go on travel and you enjoy what everybody brings to the table, what everybody has to offer, their hospitality, their customs. There's so much to learn and explore and discover and experience, and it's a wonderful thing. It's what adds flavor to life. It is the flavor of life, and it's what creates well-roundedness in an individual who has the ability to do that, to go out and see all the differences and enjoy. So, it's a blessing in disguise, really. But when you have all these different cultures, we have our neighbors to our south and to our north, you respect your neighbor. You respect their boundaries. You respect their laws. When you go to visit, you respect their laws and their way of life. And you're there to learn from them. You learn, and it adds to you. You grow. You learn something. But in respecting your neighbor as yourself, it goes hand in hand. Loving your neighbor as yourself. You got to love yourself. You yourself have boundaries. You have your body. Nobody can violate your body without asking. You've taken care of yourself. You have invested in yourself. You have firm boundaries. You have a house where you live. You have worked for what you have. And therefore, you have a little fence. You raise your family in your home. You have your boundaries. Your boundaries are not open for strangers to enter in and take and deplete you, to rob you and steal and leave you with nothing. That's not happening. That is not okay. All right? But in a sense, you have boundaries on an individual scale, but you have boundaries on a neighborly scale, but you also have geographic boundaries. You have neighbors. to the south and to the north and on every side. You respect boundaries regardless. You know, we as a people came here. We fought hard for our freedom. We were blessed by God. We acknowledged God in all our ways, and we were blessed. We've enjoyed the blessings of God. Okay, being here, a people that often, maybe at the beginning, at the onset, people escaped religious persecution, and they came here to be free. So, you know, put in the hard work and effort, and we established this, and so we want to protect it. But you know, what we went through is a terrible experiment. What we went through was a lot of reckless neglect and a lot of complacency. Because what we did was we fell asleep. We got used to being overly arrogant and comfortable in all the blessings that we had, that we forgot God. And I think we've learned the big, hard lesson, because that's also love. That's tough love. You know, God chastises his people. And when you forget him, God giveth, but God taketh away. And so what you had was, by our falling asleep, it was likened unto like being in a ship and everybody being in a drunken stupor and completely asleep, not aware that there was a huge tsunami coming right at us, okay? Because no one was steering the ship, all right? We didn't have any leadership, not any real leadership. So, or the Titanic, you know, hitting that iceberg, you know, only have a flimsy pair of binoculars and not enough to really see far out there for long. Things like this. We took our eyes off of what really is important. So we paid the price. We had open borders. Our country was run by people who had an agenda, and they allowed everybody to pour in from everywhere, and labeled it compassion, which that's not compassion. That's allowing for the theft on a broad scale. That's what that is. Because you have your house, right? You work hard at a job, you purchase your house, you have your fence, you have your family, you're raising your children, you're buying, you have a nice television, maybe some food in the refrigerator, and so you're enjoying your family. That's your safety, your security, that's your happiness, that's your livelihood. And then you're saying that open boundaries, having no borders, you're allowing anybody to come into your house at any time of the night to take and steal what's yours and leave you with nothing. That's the same thing. It's theft. It's robbery. But there's people that have labeled it, created, and they're good at doing this, creating these massive illusions, painting a picture and manipulating to making it sound like it was the thing to do, that it was the right thing to do. Remember, these are the same people that call evil good and good evil. Okay. But anyway, I'm just saying, that's what you had happen. So pretty soon, they were hiring people from other countries, coming and giving them the best government jobs, and with houses, with cars, with, you know, the best salaries. They're not even from here. And then our veterans have no homes. You know, a lot of veterans are homeless with nothing. You know, people need to wake up and go out there and talk to some of the people on the street. They all have stories to tell. And they should not be silenced. They actually should be heard. Some of their stories are worth telling and being listened to, you know, because there's a lot of abuse, a gross abuse of power, but also just unfairness. And things just weren't right. Because loving your neighbor as yourself does not mean you lie down and let them have everything that's yours. That's not loving your neighbor as yourself. Because you've got to secure the safety and security for your own family and your people. And you worked hard to achieve a level of security, a level of expectation of having a good job to provide, you know, to provide for your family. And we shouldn't be having all this high inflation. It shouldn't be this way, okay? But it is this way because we've allowed people to take over and overrun things and take the best of everything we have. But this is all typified in also the time when the Amalekites and the Midianites surrounded Israel. And Israel had, they would plant their vineyard, they would plant all their heart, all their food, their crops, everything for their families. And then when the crops were ready, here came the Midianites, the Amalekites, and took all the sustenance for themselves and left them with nothing to feed their families. It's theft. All right. So God has given us boundaries for our own protection, and he has given us the ability to respect one another, but we have forgotten. First, you've got to acknowledge God in all your ways for the blessings. Okay. Then you love yourself, because this is your temple. You respect your temple. All right. Nobody has the right to overtake your temple, or harvest your energy, or siphon, or steal, or take from you. No, they do not. You have to have firm boundaries, and people need to know that they must respect your boundaries. They may not, in this day, with this digital age, with everybody stealing and getting all up in your bank account and spying on you, putting cameras in your home and listening to every, without your knowledge or consent. Gross violation, a gross abuse of power. And yet that goes on every day, even right now, probably even in my little mobile home here. Okay, I'm just saying. So you got neighbors to the south and the north of you. What it is when you have open boundaries, open borders, and you allow everybody to come in, and you're giving them free health care, you're giving them free education, you're giving them free food stamps, you're giving them free laptops and cell phone, free everything. Well, of course they're going to want to come here. But what does that do to us? Then we are hurting. And the homeless population has gone up so much. Can't afford to be acting this way anymore. It's irresponsible. It's reckless. It is completely reckless. And it's a suicide. That was a suicide path. Okay, so, I mean, it's like, just having people come in and take what's yours and leaving you with nothing. It's like on an airplane that's ready to go down, that's going through a treacherous storm, and those masks come down, and the plane's going down, and you've got family members and you want to help them, but you got to put the mask on you first. You've got to save yourself and get yourself ready before you can help anyone else. Before you can help your loved ones, you got to help yourself first. Okay, only then will you be in a position where you can help your neighbor with their situation, okay? Because as a people that values life, we always want to be able to help others. And we love our neighbor as ourselves. So we have neighbors that live, let's take, for instance, I'm in California, so I'll just use Mexico as an example, just randomly. But, I love going to Mexico. I haven't been for a long time. But they have the best, certain services are absolutely the best. And people have a lot of skills and talents, lush. These people know how to grow fruits, the most luscious fruits, and cook. The cooking is amazing. You have that beautiful coastline with ocean front property. There's so much potential. But, you've got a water problem. It's like polluted waters or something that makes people sick. What they ought to do is have like a community get together, and loving your neighbor as yourself could mean something, sending people over to help them to put together programs that might help them for themselves to work together within their own communities to create a kind of a life that they would like to have, a sense of security and safety, and a life that they would like to have in their own communities to improve those areas. Maybe they need desalination equipment and machinery. Maybe they need to come up with creative ways of putting money. What happens with all that drug money? What happens with all that stuff? Does it sit in a vault for years and years? Maybe they should use some of that, when they confiscate this. Maybe they should use some of it to come up with some desalination programs to clean the water out there so that it doesn't make people sick anymore. I mean, there's all kinds of creative ways that people could come together. That's loving your neighbor as yourself. Once you save your own disastrous situation. Then you're in a better position where you can help your neighbor in a diplomatic way, come together and with creative ideas, with some brainstorming, with some problem solving skills, and having experts come together to iron out some of these problems that will help them, that will benefit them, because we are all people. We should love one another. The world needs more love. And love heals all wounds. You know, certainly when you're deporting people, there's going to be a lot of animosity, a lot of hatred, a lot of vitriol, a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of negative emotions. But just know this, that love heals all wounds. It had to be done. It had to be done to save our own lives. It's like a cancer. You know, when a cancer spreads and it's about to take the life of someone, you know, and the doctor's telling you, got to have the surgery. It's got to be cut out, and it signs a date. It's got to be done. You know, you don't want to do it, but it's got to be done so you can save the life. Well, our country was on the verge of completely dying, taken out. You know? Drastic measures were needed in order to save our country. And so people need to look at that and remember, it's not a hateful thing. We're not being mean to people, but they were not from here. They have everything they have is within themselves to fix their problems and their issues. But they need to take the same energy that they would take to come here and take what we have. They need to invest that energy that they have already within themselves to come together with their own people in their own communities to solve some of their own issues and problems. Now, a lot of that takes courage. Well, where does courage come from? Where does bravado and, you know, and strength comes from? It comes from Almighty God. You know, God gives wisdom to whoever asks of it. They need to be asking for it, okay? Anybody that's in a situation where they're in a dire situation and they need to iron out some problems, that's the first place to go. It's not the last place, it's the first place to go. That's where I go to for all my questions, okay? I'm just saying. I hope, you know, I'll get into the book of Amos in a minute. I'm having a bad hair day. I know my hair is flipping out all kinds of ways, but I'm going to leave it here and I'll come back with the book of Amos, chapter 4. But I just wanted to put this out there because I know we're going through this time of transition. It's a time of transformation. It's a time of healing. It's a time of restoration. 2025 is all about restoration and lifting up one another, helping one another, inspire one another to be a better version of ourselves, okay? And it's helping one another. It's not about selfishness or greediness or only thinking about our own selves. It's about helping one another. Okay, and loving your neighbor as yourself has everything to do with that. But we first got to save ourselves. We first got to take the repair and restore, because there's been a lot of damage committed from, you know, being asleep in that drunken stupor on that ship, and we're about to hit an iceberg. So you have to take drastic measure, you know, to avoid that catastrophe, okay? And who knows if it is even going to be avoided. We might have gone too far, okay? But I know that the powers that be are trying to restore our economy. So just continue praying. Pray for our economy, for the restoration of all people, and for the new heaven on earth, you know, co-creating and coming up with solutions and problems, and for people all around us too, because love is not just within one country. We have universal love. It is unconditional, but it's also universal, and it is what the planet needs to restore balance. All right, God bless everybody. I hope you have a good one. All right, bye.